This episode is brought to you by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school in the entire universe. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. I'm deep in your mind. I'm deep in your... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Apples After Hours podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about, did we almost die, or was it a ghost living in the middle of nowhere?
But before we get into it, make sure to hit, smash, jingle, touch all our bells and buttons.
Oh, please. Please touch our bells and buttons. Oh, you look so good. How good do they look?
You look great. It's fall.
It's fall.
It feels my favorite season.
Yeah, my favorite season. Still hot.
Yes.
Still super hot here.
Unfortunately.
We hope it's a little bit cooler, a lot cooler, wherever you are. And you're looking fantastic and beautiful and wonderful. And we hope you're doing really well.
Yes.
And really feeling yourself today, you know?
Yes.
You're going like, I'm confident. I got this. I can take on the world.
Yes. Feel yourself. Touch your body.
Touch your body. All right. So how's the state of Los Angeles? How's the state of people? You know, mentally, where are we at? Are we kind to each other?
Are we not?
Are we considerate to each other?
No, absolutely not. So we have been a little bit. We have a little bit of cabin fever occasionally, and
we have a high threshold for being at home, though.
Yes, because we're artists.
Yeah,
but occasionally.
I can stay at home and just do whatever for a very long time, but eventually I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I need to go out.
So occasionally we do, every once in a while, like to go out, maybe eat or watch a movie, do something. And I have noticed that literally every time we go outside, we immediately hate it.
We regret it.
We regret everything, and we want to go back inside. And it's not because of the illness. It's not because of even a bad experience, like bad food, bad movie, whatever. I can deal with that. It's usually the awful people.
The worst. People are the worst right now. I'm sure you can relate. Especially if you're driving down Burbank. Ooh, people are the fucking worst, man. It's already pretty bad. But now people are like driving... It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like no care for life.
No,
even
none.
Their own.
None. We almost like veer. You know, like you're driving to Pasadena and you see like the cliff.
Someone always straight up,
yeah,
almost crashed into our side and drove us off a cliff.
Yeah,
literally.
And it's like what? And then it's just the worst because it's just like all you want to do is get out of the house and enjoy yourself and just like breathe and just
and
like
be with people.
Maybe. Remember that romantic talk about me like what is that 4 months ago? Oh, it was so great. It was so wonderful to be with people. I really felt warmth and love and happiness. F people right now. People can go f themselves right now. They're so fucking annoying. I'm so sucking of people. I'm so fucking sick of people. I'm so sick of all of you. God, so sick of people right now. So we were like, fuck it, let's go to the middle of nowhere.
Well, I wanted to describe like some of the things that have happened to us that I find very ridiculous.
Oh yes.
And then I want to describe some of like the reasons why, and no one can read people's minds. Unless you're on Twitter, because everyone just feels like explaining
the things that people will never say to you face to face. They say on Twitter.
Just random, like, why did you say that? I don't know. Get a diary. I don't know.
Get a diary. Twitter has become the new diary, except that you can show everybody.
It's very.
We look at diaries and reflect on them to like learn and like, you know, understand ourselves as people.
Yes.
Not to like air out our dirty laundry.
For everyone to see all your mental anxieties and things. So like, yes, driving is one. And the thing is, like, people in LA have always been terrible at driving, but it's gotten really.
Oh, it's
really
down to
bad.
11.
Yeah.
11.
It's like when everyone didn't drive for like a whole year, they forgot how. So
that was all right because like it was just slow.
Yeah,
everyone drove slow.
Now people are just reckless, like bobbing and weaving in a way because they can, because there is slightly less traffic. It's getting back to normal at this point,
Yeah,
though.
man.
But yeah. So there's the traffic, but then so I hopefully you have watched our recent travel video where we go to the middle of nowhere, which is kind of why we're talking about this story, because I didn't feel like it was appropriate to share in the vlog.
Yeah, we didn't want to make the place look bad.
Yeah.
But it was a great stay.
Yeah.
It's like this. Well, the story I'm about to tell is not reflected on the B&B that we stayed at. It's just like our weird personal feelings
Yes.
about and being city folk out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Great fiction. You know.
Highly recommend that stay. Okay. It's a really great stay.
But after we experienced this, we were like, man, this is like great horror fiction that we could possibly write through our own experiences. But
Imagination.
So we were grocery shopping on many, like, you know, you have to do once a week. And I barely, like, you know, when you're in a parking spot and you, like, open your door, and I always hated this about car doors, that, like, you can't just open it and it stops. They're, like, segments where it, like, rolls to and then it stops and opens. And sometimes, like, I'm bad at parking, okay? I'm Asian.
Bad at driving. This is just not good.
I'm Asian and a woman. All
so bad.
All the things.
You're so bad at driving.
I am not doing
It's
good
amazing.
things for that stereotype.
It's so amazing. You impress me in ways in how terrible you are at driving. Wow.
So I have a tendency to park a little bit too close on the driver's side. And I open the door and I, like, I'm saying lightly bump the other car. And, like, there was, I didn't know this at the time, a woman in there and her dog. It was so light, the dog didn't even notice. Like, the dog didn't, whatever. Out of nowhere, this lady just starts yelling at me. Like, it was a whole, like, hey, you hit my car. How dare, like, it's just way too dramatic for literally what happened. And when she started yelling, her dog just, like, starts going. He's like a little yappy dog. I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm sorry.
What compels a person, right?
To freak out that hard.
What compels a person, right? That's the craziest part. That's what I think about. It's like, oh, people are going insane. People are fucking losing their shit, man.
I'm just trying to get groceries. Leave me alone. And this happened multiple times at the grocery store, where I'm just yelled at. I'm, like, just freaked out on.
Going out and, like, those very, very rare, like 10% moments where, like, people are kind, I'm like, that's the greatest ever.
Yeah,
But the craziest part is when we're in, like, Texas or Arizona, like, it's reverse.
Yeah.
I haven't even had, like, a bad experience, really.
No. It's, like, night and day.
Night and day.
Yeah. And, like, so, like...
But the people here think everywhere's like here.
Yeah.
Because people here who live in Los Angeles are narcissists.
Yes.
And think everywhere is like where they live because they think they live in the best place in the world.
Yeah, they think, oh, this is just normal.
Objectively is correct.
Why-
Los Angeles is fucking awesome.
Why should I leave when, you know, everyone's awful everywhere? Like, no, they're not.
You know what I was
actually.
saying to you? I was like saying this place is so fucking awesome that the people who run this place know it's so fucking awesome and take advantage of it. This place is awesome. Like, if it weren't for the fucking people and fucking, like, state, this place would, like, fuck. Like, imagine, like, an island popped up out of nowhere that was, like, exactly like California. People would flock there, man.
It's beautiful. The weather's great. There are beaches. There's mountains. There's lots of great things.
Oh, like in Grand Theft Auto 5, where they recreated Los Angeles.
Yes.
It's basically a combination between Los Angeles and Palm Springs.
Yes.
And they turned it into one big island.
Oh,
and if
wow.
that was real,
Yes.
oh my God. Yes. We would all go there and say, fuck this place.
Even so, like, I am accustomed to, like, a certain amount of bad service here in LA. Hint, as an LA, if you're ever here in LA, as an LA born and raised person, the best places to eat are not the fancy hoity-toity nice looking restaurants or hipster restaurants. They're the hole in the wall, look like they've been there for like 50 years. They haven't upgraded the sign, everything's fading, everything looks kind of dirty. It might have a B or lower.
The lower the grade, the better it tastes.
Those are the places.
For sure. Trust me, if it's a B and if you don't get a tummy ache a little bit after, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it.
Those are the gems that you want to visit because they're really good, really cheap, and just like they're like the secrets of the like usually though. The thing is, especially about like Chinese restaurants that are like that are really good. They're mean and they don't care about you. They just want you to get your food and leave.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which, like, in general, I think most Asian restaurants are like this. Like, they're just kind of curt. So every time on Yelp, especially when I see someone who clearly is just like not from the area or from here and they complain about the service, I'm just like, are you not getting what you came here for though? Like, amazing food. Like, what do I care if you're like, huh, $5, and then you like, here's your food, go away. And then I'm like, yeah, I got what I asked for. Like, what was I expecting? So I'm used to that amount of that because I grew up with that. But then, like, service truly, not just that, the service and the food has been like a lot of our favorite restaurants have disappointed us of how much just everything has gone. But besides the, you know, the exterior, why people are maybe just mean or upset at us for no reason, I realized, like, I was on Twitter and I saw some people we knew in animation, their tweets, you know, not about it, just about life, and they were talking about how they're having health problems, very like reminiscent of, you know, if you've watched the I think like toxic hustle culture video that I made, why I kind of still am a little bit of a workaholic, but I used to be much worse, and how, you know, I don't want to do that to myself anymore. I kind of recognize a lot of the signs of how it affects people's health, both like mental health and physical health. And the craziest part is when you're in it, you don't realize what is affecting you, even though like it's obvious to literally everyone around you. You work too hard, you're too stressed out, you don't sleep, you're coping with food and anything to give you some dopamine kick to make you happy because you're a workaholic and you hate your job.
But you won't admit it to yourself.
You can't.
Too much pride.
Yeah, there's like it's not something that even registers in your brain. And this other person that like I saw on social media was like, you know, really into being safe with the whole illness and everything. So when she got back from like New Jersey, to New Jersey, she had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then she was talking about how, you know, it made her really depressed, and she thought it was bizarre. But at the same time, it didn't seem like she linked the two thyou
What did she think that was bizarre?
She thought she was just depressed, instead of like realizing it was because you isolated yourself for 2 straight weeks that you
kind of abnormal. Humans shouldn't be alone.
Yeah,
like that,
but she didn't realize that was what was making her depressed.
Oh, I see.
And like that's the thing. Like we realize us being kind of just trying to live, that the people around us here in LA are miserable and depressed and unhealthy, and some of them don't even know why. They go like, oh, this is normal, this is everywhere, this is whatever. But like you said,
you just drive, let's say like five hours away from here to Arizona, completely different.
Yeah.
Completely completely different.
Yeah. And the thing is though, like, I think when people talk about this stuff, people like are like, oh, you must be like against all the rules and regulations in LA, and I'm just kind of like, who isn't? Like, I'm not saying this as like a whatever political thing, but like literally there's not a single person, I believe, that likes masks. No matter which side, like, we all agree, right, that doing this kind of sucks.
I mean, especially during the summer. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. Like, it's just uncomfortable.
Like,
But
we have to.
We have to.
I'm not arguing about that. Like, we have to. I get it. But like,
It's not pleasant.
it's not a good. It doesn't feel good. No one likes it. But then I realized, you told me a story recently that happened that I was like, oh no, some people do like it.
How many times have I replaced my hash pipe?
Like 6 or 7 times.
Oh my god! And how's the longest one I've ever had?
Maybe half a year.
And, okay, so I broke it again.
Yes.
And I went to the shop, and the guy was like, I need to see some ID.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, man. I'm 30 years old. In my head. I didn't say it. Because this is his job. So I was like, okay, here's my ID. And all this stuff. And he's like, I'm sorry. It's just like lately, there have been a lot of youngsters posing as adults because they have their masks on. And, you know, it's just, I have to really check these days. And I'm just like, oh, youngsters, I see. But then I was walking away. I was thinking like, oh, man. So people are already taking advantage of this mask stuff.
Yeah.
Like, blatantly.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was just like, oh, of course, you know, people who want to break
Like,
the law.
let's say you're a dumb teenager. You're like, oh, I want to buy, like, a 6-pack of beer. And you put on a suit, and then you put a mask, and it's like, hello, sir. I would like to buy a case of beer.
And I was just like, oh, of course. I was like, oh, so criminals are the ones who really like the mask. And I was like, you know, who are the biggest criminals?
The government.
Yes. And they are also, they really love the mask, just like for similar reasons. And I'm thinking about how, like, you know, I wouldn't have thought this way when I was younger. I think you're a little bit different. You literally grew up in like Koreatown.
Yeah.
In LA.
I know that people are awful.
Yeah.
People are awful.
So you have a lot more street smarts than me. I grew up in suburbia.
You grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Like E.T. You like
yes.
E.T.?
But
Yeah.
I have learned through
Stranger Things.
living in California that like, and been screwed over enough that like, oh, that's very naive to think that like people are good. That like, no, they totally won't take advantage of the masking situation. It's for good. As in, like, knowing that like young Janet would have thought that, and being me now, I'm just like, oh, you poor child. You need to live more life and have someone screw you over a few more times in LA, because it just seems that like you do not grow into an adult here in LA unless you've been screwed over a few times and you've been hardened. But then like it's LA, so you're still chill about it. But you're just kind of like, you're not gonna f me, dude. Okay, just don't f me.
I have a story.
Yeah.
I have a Vincent story. You ready? Oh, my famous stories. Here we go. So I bought a drum kit.
Yes, you did.
Do you know how to play drums?
No.
I don't know how to play drums. But I bought a drum kit anyway from a guy, and I had to drive all the way to Oceanside. And the craziest part was we drove there immediately after our stay in Palm Springs, and for reasons that we will get into soon, we didn't get any sleep.
Yes.
But then I was like, well, you know, I have a great idea. Let's drive all the way from Los Angeles to Oceanside.
Yeah.
And pick up these drums. So we go all the way there, and then I meet this guy. This really he's really into drums. He calls himself Bob the Drummer. So I've been like contacting him over email, talking about drums and stuff. And like literally, you know how like your name and the signature is like Bob the Drummer. It's like really funny.
Bob the Builder.
Like Bob the Builder, exactly. He has like Gretsch drums on his email, which is pretty. Ooh, that's cool. But he sold me these drums. They're Ludwig Legacy drums for like a song. It was awesome. It was such a good deal. But then like, you know, he was very you found it very impressive, his business how do you call it? Acumen. His
care and diligence of how to do a proper Craigslist deal.
Yes, this is like the most hardcore Craigslist deal I've ever had.
He reminds me of my dad.
Yeah. So he has me meet him in front of a Wells Fargo. So I was like, okay, that's standard. Usually I like to say, oh, we'll meet in front of a gas station or like
a public place.
Like a public place, like a Starbucks or something, and whatever. So that was okay. That makes sense. I guess you're going to bring it in your car. So we meet in this Wells Fargo in Oceanside, and then he busts out the drums. But then, you know, we talk about it. He shows me the goods. He really takes his time showing me the goods and going like, this is why this is awesome. This is why you're getting such an amazing deal. And I'm like, I believe it. I did my own research too. These things are so much more expensive than what he sold it for to me. But since he's retired and he already has a set that's just like a little bit smaller than the one that he gave me. It's exactly the same color too. It's like burgundy sparkle. So cool. But then like before we trade the money, before I pay for it, he's like, no, we're going to go inside the Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, okay, cool. And then we go inside the Wells Fargo, and then you stay in the car.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, you stay in the car. I'll just deal with this.
Yeah.
I guess.
I was like, that's unusual. Most people just take the money and count it.
And just like peace.
He's like, we need to make sure.
And then he was like, I don't want any counterfeit bills and all this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I mean, I guess, dude, I didn't want to say I literally went from the bank and like withdrew the money from the bank.
He doesn't know.
So unless the bank has counterfeit money, there's no chance in hell that like I'm giving you counterfeit money, but like there's no way I can explain that to you. So I'm like, there's no convincing you. So this is clearly how it's going to give you peace of mind. Yeah. So whatever, this is your drums, you're giving it to me, fine, whatever. He counts the money and we're having a good chat. Like he's really awesome. He's really friendly. But then I'm short $5. I'm short this big, like this, like, you know, it's pretty pricey still, but like this sum, but then it's like mostly there. It's like it's 95% there. I'm short $5, and I get super flustered, and I immediately think this motherfucker is not gonna let me leave.
If he walked you into the bank to make sure your bills are all right.
So I was like, okay, man, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go to the car and try to get more cash. Yeah. And then I go to the car and then I cross my fingers. Hey, babe, you got cash? $5. $5.
When do I carry cash? And then
I was like, okay.
But like we didn't even talk about it. I was like, you stay here. I'm gonna go to the bank and get $5.
Because you knew.
Because I knew. I was observing all of this, and I was like,
like you didn't even say, oh my god, it's just $5.
Yeah.
There was not a single moment. We were automatically like,
okay,
we need to get $5.
I'll get the $5. Hell or high water, this man is getting his $5.
So you drive away, and I'm going back into the Wells Fargo, and I go, okay, so Janet's gonna get $5 from the Chase, and he's like, what? And then, like, he was like, oh, I didn't mean to stiff you, man. And he's like, no, I didn't mean, like, he's like, I understand. You just miscounted. It's fine. So you know, I think you were gone for, like, about 15 minutes. Yeah. So we, like, what was great was, like, we went over to his car. Yeah. We went over the drums. He explained more stuff about how awesome the kid is. And we talked about miking drums and compression. And he's really knowledgeable about this stuff. I still... To this day, it's been like about 4 or 5 days.
Yes.
I still go have a back and forth with him.
Yes. You check your email, but
all
like
the time.
Now not for work.
Yeah, no, not for work. I literally have this is my first pen pal.
Yeah.
I've never had one of these before.
Yeah.
Like we really developed a relationship. It's hilarious. But so he's talking my head off about how John Bonham's drums were mic'd up and all of this stuff, 3 feet away from the snare and all this stuff. And I'm thinking like, oh, this is amazing. I have like the perfect source for like home recording. If I ever needed to ask anybody for anything, here he is. But then like you come in and then like he like, what did you think while you were driving? Because he was really animated about how he was talking about like miking up drums.
Yeah, you're in the parking lot and you're having this conversation, and I come back driving the car, trying to park badly as I always do, and he randomly starts gesturing really widely with his arms, starts backing up, and he's like an older gentleman, so like he starts backing up, not looking if there's like cars, like me.
He's really passionately talking about this stuff,
and I'm like, oh god, and I'm like, I park like 50 feet away because I'm like, I don't want to hit him. I don't know what he's gonna do next.
Oh man, he's such a rad dude. He started talking my head off about Tame Impala.
Yeah,
and I was like, dude, I mean like, respect, but like you're not really someone I'd expect would listen to Tame Impala. You know what I mean? But like that was so rad. I was like, dude, you're the man, Bob the drummer.
He's like talking to you about like God knows what for like another hour, and we're running on 24 hours no sleep. Like I need to pee. I need to sleep.
Yeah. I need to eat.
Yeah, I need to eat. I'm dizzy. And
Art Center, baby, gives you superpowers.
Eventually, you like climb back into the car, and then you show me the receipt he wrote you.
He wrote me a receipt
where you had to sign.
I had to sign, and he took a picture because he was like, no returns and all this stuff. I was just like, I'm not planning on returning. Dude, it's fine.
I was like, wow, it's straight up. He wrote like a signed document.
Legit.
Yeah.
It's legit. It's like a souvenir. I'm keeping it forever.
And like, I was like, wow, that's some Janet's dad type
bullshit.
Like, that's literally what my dad would do.
Yeah. Okay, so all of this to say, there's another story on top of the story. Yes. So Bob the drummer, one of the many things he talks my head off, because so literally the transaction's done. I give him the $5. Mm-hmm. We still talk for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
While you're in the car talking to your dad about some bullshit, and then he's talking to me about the story about how he had these like legit vintage Slingerland drums that someone stole from him from his garage.
Yeah.
So apparently he had these vintage drums in his garage, and then he woke up one day and apparently they were gone, and then the garage door was open or something like that. And then 2 years later he sees the drums, the kit on Craigslist, and like you know, he's talking to me about how he knows it's it, but I'm thinking like, how do you know it's it? But he's telling like, I posed as a buyer, and I told this guy I'm gonna buy your drums. So he goes over there, right? And then he finds this like hippie fucking guy. Like, hey man, here's the drums, man. Where's the money? And he's like, okay, so these are my drums, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these drums, and you're not gonna do anything about it. And if you do, I'm gonna tell the police, and I'm gonna have you charged on whatever possession, whatever. What is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Some crazy legal mumbo jumbo that sounded really legit, Law and Order like, right? And I'm thinking like, holy shit. And I'm like, how do you prove it to this guy? And apparently Bob the drummer pulls out the circle piece, right? So a lot of drummers, I'm sure you've seen it in drum kits before. There's like a hole cut inside the bass drum, the big old fat kick drum, right? And that's to like put a mic inside to really get like a really nice sound. But the thing about Bob's kit, the Slingerland kit, was, you know, and you usually pay a professional to do this, but it seems as though Bob didn't want to do that. Just like my dad. So he cut it himself. And obviously, you know, doing like a hand done job, probably not going to be the most perfect cut, right? But he kept the cut. Can you believe he got the? That's the first thing I thought. Like, usually I would just throw it away. Like, who gives a shit? Like,
my dad would.
Like, so he kept the cut, and he showed the seller, like fucking like a puzzle piece, like it fitting right with all the discrepancies on the circle and everything. And he was like, hey man, don't rat me out, man. My uncle's a cop, man. Come on, man, you can take the drum, whatever. And then he went away with the drums. I
was like, wow, that's
like, what a story.
Amazing, man. That's what I aspired to be.
That's pretty crazy.
Because he's like, a really friendly dude, and kind of like he can come across like shy, but he talks a lot. But then he's like
you think out of nervousness or something.
Yeah, but he has like clearly absolutely no problem with confrontation. And I was just like, this is like a skit straight out of like
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And
and then like the guy like and then like he like gives me the most serious look as if I were the guy, and then he laughs about it, and I'm thinking like, this is your cocktail story, isn't it? This is like the story you tell every drummer you meet, isn't it? Like, you've practiced this so many times, haven't you?
Authorized biography of Kim Jong-il, as told to Michael Malice. It is 100% true and 100% amazing. If you have not listened to this book, which you really should, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you will get 1 free audiobook or 2 free audiobooks if you are an Amazon Prime member. And yeah, audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. So we've met like quite a
spectrum of musicians, right?
On Craigslist because of your guess, your inability to not acquire more gear.
It's bad.
And I always tag along, because I don't want you to die, but also like we do everything together. And I don't like everybody. I I am a very, and people don't like me. Usually
how are people around me?
They love you.
Yeah.
And they hate me. I don't know why. But I have learned through my life experience to trust my gut feeling about people, because I've been screwed over one too many times. And I always tell you how I feel about a person after the fact, whether I like them or not. And what's interesting is I tend to always like people like Bob. And it's not just the fact that he's like really, really diligent about doing things the right way, but it's also like there's something about that story about like just this whole interaction with him, but also like that story of him like fitting the piece perfectly years later. He I don't know how he found it, know how he knew, and then the gall to like show up and be like, hey, that's mine, give it back.
I've seen something of mine show up that I sold on Craigslist show up on Craigslist, and I knew that thing was mine. Yeah. But I was like, whatever, man, you paid for it, so whatever. It's not like someone stole it.
Yeah. And there's something about that that's just like, man, this guy, like LA people can smell another LA person, and that this guy, I'm sure like you grew up here like we did, like that's some LA shit, man.
Yeah, man.
And every single time I meet someone who like we can tell that like this guy from Watts lived there for forever. We can tell when like whatever, but like we can also tell when someone's not from here. And I really dislike those people. I was telling you how much I think it's maybe these types of people remind me of people in animation, people in the industry, because there's something very transactional about all of
relationships
the interactions, specifically about people who are not from here, who move here to make it, because they don't want to meet you and to be friends with you because you're interesting. It's never because of that. It's because you might potentially be some
useful.
Kind of use to me. You might be a good connection, whatever. And it's interesting when you meet people like that, because they treat you differently depending on how much value they think you can offer them. If they suddenly realize that you have no value, you are not a useful connection, they don't care about you and they treat you accordingly. And if you do suddenly have value that they didn't know of, suddenly their eyes light up, and then they're like, oh, I want to be friends with you. So like, when I was still working, when people would find out I worked at whatever studio, people would immediately be like, oh, I want to be friends with you. I'm like, I don't know you, guy. And then the same bothers me when, like, this is, I think, throughout industry. Like, it's it's not like that's so I see it in like some of the musicians. The thing about that is like if you're an LA person, you don't really act like that. I find that the people are just like they don't care. Like they if you vibe with them, you vibe with them. Yeah, it's just something I noticed about Bob. I was like, I like you. I'm not sure I want to be very close friends with you because you sound intense.
He sounds intense. Very knowledgeable. I've been going back and forth, and he's just like, I send him like 2 or 3 paragraphs. He sends me like 5 paragraphs. I send him like 5 paragraphs. He sends me like 7 paragraphs. It's like ridiculous. We're just like talking about drums. So real quickly though, before we move on to the main event,
yes,
I want to talk about just acquiring gear as a drummer.
Okay. Oh yes,
quotes.
Yes.
What do you think about that? It's really interesting, huh?
Yes.
So you've been around me acquiring guitar gear
For the
guitar
our entire
and then
relationship.
piano gear,
Yes.
and then producer DJ
Yes.
sampling gear,
Yeah.
and like all of those people are different.
Yes.
Like all the people who like guitars,
They're stereotypes.
yeah, they're the stereotypes. All the people who are into music production, there are stereotypes, and all the people who are into, what was the other thing? Keyboards. Yeah, definitely stereotypes.
Yeah.
And then but drummers are interesting. Like this is my first time interacting with drummers. Like I think I've interacted with like 2 or 3.
And people who think you're a drummer.
Yeah.
Because you're buying
Yeah,
drums.
because I'm posing as a drummer, but I'm like not a drummer.
Yeah.
I'm just making art and bullshit. I don't know. And they treat me funny.
Yeah.
They treat me like, dare I say, some kind of respect.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
It's weird.
It's really weird. So like the guy I bought the kick pedal from was super chill.
Yeah, so the other day we went to Eagle Rock / Highland Park, basically where all the hipster musician types.
It looks like I could smell so many animation people or industry people at least in Highland Park.
A
I was
lot
like,
of people live there.
I wasn't like this
Who
before.
are young and hip. But also, like, you don't understand what that place is actually like if you've grown up here.
But hey, good luck. Good luck to you.
And yeah, we went there, and we've gone there a few times before when you would go to like browse guitar stuff.
Yeah, because they have vintage guitars and stuff.
And like, you get all types when you walk into like a mom and pop store like that. You either get, there are 2 types. You get really nice, really friendly, really knowledgeable, or just cranky. Also probably really knowledgeable. Whatever.
But cranky.
Yeah. This store typically is kind of cranky. Whatever. But I'm used to like being treated as a guitarist because you're always looking at guitar, and then most people when they like see that like you want to look at the guitars, they're kind of like,
here's this asshole who's not gonna buy anything.
Yeah. Like, and then they like ignore you. Like keep an eye on you, but like they're like, you're not gonna buy anything.
You're just gonna ogle this guitar. You're gonna try it, get all your grubby paws on it, and then put it back, and then I'll never see you again.
Yeah,
because I've done that before.
Yeah,
tons of times. But what was different about this time?
So this time, you came in and it was like the same. What do you want? And then you're like, oh, I
very confidently, very simply, because I just really needed this. I needed a cymbal stand, so I told the guy, "Hey, man, I need a cymbal stand."
Yeah.
He was like, "Cymbal stands? Okay, they're over there." And then we go over and I find one, and he's just like being really chill with me.
Yeah.
Going like,
for once.
like asking me like, was this for a project? Yeah. Are you playing any shows? Are you learning? And like, I never got any of that treatment when I visit there, like as a guitarist. Yeah. So I was like, what the f-? And then like, he's like taking, and I was like, it's missing the washers and stuff to secure, and the felt thingy, the felt donut thingy to secure the cymbal. And I was like, hey dude, do you have the thingy-majig? And like the dude takes the time and finds the box full of the thingamajig and takes the time to find the one that actually fits, and and he's like super chill about it. And like he's like $35.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking sick. Here's $35. And it was just like the sweetest. Like I was just like, wow. So this is how drummers are treated. Yeah, like
this
is amazing.
This is like a week of doing this, and I just noticed that like people treat drummers differently, because so there's the way people treat guitarists, which is like everyone is a guitarist, and they're kind of annoying, and they're like, I don't want to deal with you.
Lots of ego there.
Yeah.
Lots of like playing guitar and thinking you're in front of an arena.
When you were trying to buy like keyboards and like pianos and stuff, there's a certain type of people that do that. They're kind of like nerdy, soft-spoken, like, and like weird, like into like some stuff.
And you would guarantee they probably know a little bit about theory. Because they play piano.
Yes, they're more like intellectual
musicians. Yeah.
But then like when people are trying to sell it to you, they don't care. Like most people just do not care about like the keyboard player. They're just like, you're like you don't do anything in the band. No one hears you.
So mean.
And then producers are like,
oh, the fucking worst.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They're flaky. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm sure a lot of you are great and kind and really like you take the time, but come on, even you must admit that you've had some flaky like, you know, transactions buying gears, or you buy gear and you're like, oh shit, this thing's like actually broken. It's like, fuck, I paid this much, and then like, you know, this fader's like up and stuff.
There are two types. Like the serious producer that has been like producing music for a while, really knows their stuff.
Oh, like the guy we got the MPC from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I don't know what it is, but the people like in their 20s and younger, usually younger, like just
who want to be like Kanye.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. The worst. Like every single time I see the person show up with like whatever it is that you want to buy, I'm like, I guarantee there's something wrong with this. Like something is broken. Usually you're complaining to me about how you messaged them like a day ago. Why haven't they and then they finally respond like middle of the night.
Oh god. Yeah,
and they're always like late, or like it's
late.
Just
always late. So late.
And like recently, you bought a Juno.
Yes.
From some guy. We have bought enough like the instruments to at least know how to test it out at the thing.
Oh yeah.
So like we're testing all the keys work, everything, and I'm like, oh, for once, this stereotype has proven me wrong. I am wrong. We take it home and it starts just not working right, and I was like,
it's so funny because it would work beautifully and then we were like, oh my god, it's dying.
I was like, oh, one day someone will prove me wrong.
But that day is
not today.
Nope.
But anyways, so all of this that we're talking about, it affects us. Like, we don't go outside very often, and when we do, it's like a miserable experience because people are awful. Yeah. So we're like, okay, I'm a little sick of being here right now. Let's go on a trip. Let's go out in the middle of nowhere because we were planning on moving, and also like we realized after going to Dallas that I don't want to trade LA for another city.
Yeah.
And because that's not really the period of life that we're kind of in. But we were like, let's push it. Let's see how middle of nowhere we're willing to take. And we weren't gonna go like literally go to the middle of not out of California. We're like, what's the easiest way to test that? Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Palm Springs. How about that? The middle of the desert, middle of nowhere.
Just acres and acres of just nothingness.
Yeah. And it was great. The first thing I noticed was that because we've been having so many problems with people were really friendly out there. They just
oh yeah, the service was very nice.
Yeah. They, when things are normal here, when you're like getting served at a restaurant or people are just looking after you in a store or something.
Yeah, we went to an IHOP and 2 diners, and they were really, really, really nice.
Yeah, and I went inside a vintage shop. In LA, people feel rushed. Mm-hmm. Like they want to get you in and out and get whatever it is you want and just like leave. Here and there, it felt like people had the time of day to deal with us. Mm-hmm. It just felt like just slower, and I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is like kind of what I have been craving.
And the problem about going to Dallas, at least for me, was like there were still looky-loos. You know?
Yes.
There's always like, well, I think it's just a symptom of being in a city,
yeah.
where everyone's just in your shit.
Yeah.
But everyone's just constantly looking at you if they recognize you from like something or somewhere or whatever. But there's always somebody looking around in at least the hip places in Dallas where we got food.
Yeah.
Even in barbecue like the hole in the wall places, you get looks of like, ooh, is that somebody so and so?
Yeah.
But when we were all the way in the desert, we're like just nobody knows anybody. It doesn't matter because you live here.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you're connected to any of this. People are just kind, and people just don't look. They're not on your.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know how to describe it, but like that once you have lived with it for a while, of like people are just like too interested in what you're doing at all times. They just like watching. Everyone's watching each other.
Yeah, man.
When you go to a place where like people aren't doing that, it feels like, oh, a weight has been lifted. I also one of the first things we did when we went there was to go hiking at the national park, and it was really like amazing how quiet it was. Like there was the sound of wind and about nothing else. Like
I could hear myself think. It was great.
But there's not even like, when it's quiet here, you still hear like crickets chirping. You know what I mean? You still hear
Or
like
car.
yeah. Or even like this buzzing sound of like lights or something.
Yeah. There's noises everywhere.
It was just dead quiet. Like it almost felt like you're outside, but it's like soundproof.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Especially when we got into the Airbnb area and we had our own space where no one was around us. It's very tempting to howl at the moon or the emptiness and just scream at the top of your lungs, just to be like,
yay, you're
like,
alone.
You're alone.
Yeah.
This is great. I have so much space. I can like be naked if I wanted to. Like I can do whatever. So that part was great. Those are all like the pros that we were looking for in like, so for most of I think the first day or so, we were like, oh yeah, we should totally move out to like a rural area like this, just not in California because it's like
too expensive.
Still, but we can do it. This is totally for us. and then it got dark.
Well, we were making music, right? And then we're really working hard on this song, and then we finally got a good take of it that we liked, and we were just listening along.
Yeah, and it's like dark.
It's dark, and we're like, oh, this is so great. And we're like rejoicing because like this might be the one, and we're listening. And then I'm like listening to this to all of this, and then out of the blue, and I look at you when this happens, like I hear this sound that goes, go, and I was like, what the fuck?
Because of the way sound works in Joshua Tree, it gave us chills down our spine because we had the windows open and it's like this dome house and there are windows like right behind me, but like 50 feet behind me. It felt like it came right behind me.
Yeah, man.
Like, I was like,
it was creepy.
And like,
I got chills, man.
There are no lights when it gets dark out there. Like there's lights inside, yes, but like when you look out the window, it's pitch black.
Yeah.
And I just kind of froze. And I did not want to look behind me. I just looked at you. Just to see if you reacted. I looked at you
and I looked behind you and I thought you didn't hear it and I thought I was going crazy. But I looked behind you where I thought the source of the sound was coming from. There was nothing there. It was just like darkness.
Yeah.
Just pure darkness. And I was like, holy shit. So I immediately think, like ask, did you hear that? And you're like, yeah. And I like run towards the window and I look and there's nothing.
Yeah.
Just nothing. Just horizon and some bushes.
Yeah.
But horizon and bushes. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I think like, okay, maybe like there's something on the tape. Yeah. Maybe like there's something on the tape, like a discrepancy or something. I didn't
bump the mic or something.
Whatever. And then like we rewind it and we play it. It didn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that's when we freaked out. I was like, what the fuck?
It's so scary when you are in the middle of nowhere. You know you are alone.
Yeah.
Or at least you should be. It is pitch black outside, and you went on a paved road to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you do not know where the police are, and you have absolutely nothing to protect yourself with. You're surrounded by a bunch of expensive equipment, and you're just like, what do I do?
So we packed the equipment, we put it flush against the wall, and we were like,
it's heavy.
We're gonna take turns taking shifts to seeing
To stay up for the rest of the night. Because what the
What was that? That was the creepiest
Was that
thing.
a person?
It was the weirdest thing.
Or was it a ghost? Either way, freaky.
I'd feel
really freaky.
a lot better if we had some sort of protection, a dog, anything. But we didn't.
Yeah.
It's a small space,
Yeah.
full of windows, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we kept going like this is so irrational. There's a thing that says no trespassing. This is ridiculous. Who would do this to a Airbnb? But then we were like thinking like, but what the fuck was that though? What was that sound?
What was that? It sounded human.
It sounded human. I mean, what if it was like? I kept thinking like, what if it was a gust of wind that sounded like that? Like, but I was just like, I swear, it sounded like a person whispering something.
Yeah. like whispering loudly. That's the thing. Like, who, if they were like burglars, they're like the worst burglars ever. But still, it's not like we could have protected ourselves.
And the creepiest fucking thing is that this fucking Airbnb is palm reading and tarot card fucking like
themed.
witch
Yeah.
themed.
In the day.
Dream catchers.
I remember thinking like,
It's kind of creepy, actually.
This is there's like a animal bonehead thing, some like tarot card stuff, rocks, and like it's kind of creepy. I didn't want to say, but like there's like those kind of like drawing figures, like wooden drawing, posable drawing.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a wooden hand thing that looked like it was supposed to be part of like some drawing thing, but it had like tarot thing markings on it.
I remember that.
Right next to on the bedside table. And I remember thinking like, have you ever gone on vacation where you wake up and you think you're at home, and then I was like, it would be really unfortunate if I had like a nightmare or something and woke up and then there's like a hand. Like there's like it's like even the board games, there were like some tarot board games. So like, wouldn't it be funny if there was like a Ouija board up there? And yeah, it did not help noticing like, and then like it was fun, like the props that were there, like they're a shaman looking poncho that you wore, but then there was like one for a male and one for female. Like, so there was like I put on like the dress and you put on like the shaman thing, and then I was just kind of like, haha, this is funny. But then I was like, why is there perfectly like these things in here perfect for like two people like us? And I like that crossed my mind for a second, and then I was like,
it's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
It's like they were planning some sort of ritual.
Yeah, and I was like, the artist's imagination goes wild when you're out there alone in the dark, in the middle of nowhere.
And just simply the practical stuff of like wanting protection. Just like it got really hot and stuffy and dry in the middle of the night, but the air conditioner is really loud, even on low. So I opened the window and I tried to go back to sleep, and I heard, just like in Red Dead, they recorded it exactly. Coyotes in the distance cackling in their weird like sounds that they do. And then I was thinking like, whoa, how awesome is that? And I thought like, if a coyote came over here, like a group of them, like it's not like Red Dead where I can pull out my pistol. I don't have any of that shit, man. And I'm just like, man, I need some protection. If I live in Palm Springs, you kind of just need something
in the middle of nowhere. And then it was not fun trying to do the art center thing again of like, I'm gonna stay up 24 hours straight. And
but we did it.
But we did it because we
are crazy.
Freaked out.
Yeah.
And the whole time you were telling me like, if someone breaks in, we have to go all the way, right?
We have to go all the way.
We have to protect ourselves, all the way. Right? We got knives. We got these rocks. We got these music equipment. You lived out in your home alone.
I had all night, baby. It was great. I had a lot of practice growing up. It's just like, if you're gonna get me, I'm gonna at least be entertained before I die.
You set up the MacGyver, like, we had an amp, so you, like, directed it towards the window, and then you mic'd it up, turned it to 11, and, like, you told me, okay, so if anyone breaks in, you immediately run into this room, and you yell into this, because if someone's gonna hear us, right? And then you're like looking at the glass bottles, like the glass stuff, and you were like, I will, if worst comes to worst, I will makeshift a Molotov cocktail. And when I like go to bed and I see like all the ingredients,
I actually have a bottle of 99% isopropyl alcohol because I needed to wipe the cotton swab of the 4-track to make it pristine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah. So we had all the ingredients. Yeah.
You're just like, bring it on, motherfucker.
Come at us. I'm gonna go down. Because, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, the door to the Airbnb
is made out of glass.
Has this funny thing where, like, it has, like, the system where you like, enter their code and then you get let in. But the problem is, it works fine when you're outside. When you're inside, it, like, doesn't... like, sometimes it locks you inside. Yeah.
You can't open it.
Yeah.
And you have to like pull it forward and out, pull it forward and out until.
So I was like, if someone comes in here, I can't run to the car. It'll be like 2 seconds.
If I were them, I would have slashed the tires.
Yeah. And then you're like, what do we do? Do we like go home now? And I'm like, it's pitch black outside.
Yeah.
You really want to go outside?
I was just weighing out the options, man.
So, yeah, and then we had all night to talk about, what do you think that was? Was that a person?
I don't know.
Was that a ghost?
It was freaky.
And when day broke, you were like, it's like
butt crack of dawn.
6 a.m. Let's get out of here.
Out of here. But we got some breakfast. It was so good.
Yeah, it was really
banana
good.
bread.
And then we, it's fun. Like, now that we've survived to talk about it and laugh about it, I was like, man, what great fiction. I understand now those cabin in the woods stories.
Yeah, The Shining.
Yeah. Like, I really understand. Like, either we were hearing things, either there was actually a person, kind of scary, or it wasn't a person.
It wasn't a person, which is
also
more terrifying.
Kind of scary, yeah. So that made us realize that, like, you really are trading security for freedom out there. Like, you don't get that kind of fear when you're in a city.
Or at least where you have neighbors that are at least, close to you.
Yeah. Like, I definitely feel like if I ran outside in the middle of the street and I started screaming my head off, someone would call police. Yeah. Like the police station, like, we didn't even know where the police station was. Like, I don't know how long they would even take to get here. We were like, should we call police? And we were like, where are they? Yeah. Is it worth it? And
we explained it. We heard voices, officer.
And they're like, okay. And so I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, that's why you do need protection when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, where there's animals or people. And
or ghosts.
Also, I had to get something from the car once at night.
Oh, and man.
I opened the door, I left it out for like a hot second, and
like, I think 20 seconds, and a fleet of bugs flew in from the darkness, emerging.
It was biblical.
It was crazy. It was biblical.
Yeah.
But I killed them all.
Yeah, like, you were so freaked out, and I was like, chill. Like, I've been camping before, so I understand, but, like, you were, like, really freaked out by bugs, and you were like, oh my god, there's like 5 of them, and they're so big. They are really big.
They're big. They're huge, dude.
They look kind of different, and they're very large. I don't know, they have more life to live out there, or something.
Something to eat.
But they're like these crazy flies that for some reason, it's like they've never seen people though. So then
Yeah.
like you could kill them really easily.
Yeah, so I just took my shoe and went boonk,
And then they're like,
boonk, boonk, boonk.
And then you looked at the ground when we were hiking, and you saw like,
Whoa, look
there's-
how big the ants are.
and
They're huge.
I looked down and I was like, oh my god, you're right. They're like, some of them are the size of my fingernail. And I was like, my pinky nail or something. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's an ant.
Ew.
It's a normal ant. It's crazy. So yeah, there are definite cons to living out there that made us realize, like, our final thoughts about like that experience was that, yeah, maybe for a weekend, but I don't think I want to live.
Do want to have a vacation home out there though.
Yes.
Pretty sick.
But I don't want to live out there because like I don't want to feel that, like, when we started becoming adults and living alone, you know, you and I, there's there's an amount of fear that comes with like not being in like an apartment complex, for example.
Oh,
with
yeah.
other people. I feel like homeowners and people who have to fend for themselves, especially not in a really dense area, I think you get a semblance of that fear of like, especially you have to like protect, like, I know I'm useless in any kind of situation.
It blows at you.
Yeah.
Ah.
But like for you like you remember you freaking out because you're like, I have to protect you, like
You're a little ass girl.
I'm the only one
Yeah.
here who can protect you. And that kind of stuff makes you realize like how important it is to be around some people and some things like police stations and stuff like that. So good for us to have experienced that, because I would have always wondered like, what if I want to move out to like the countryside, or
Yeah, I can imagine like, you know, countryside, Red Dead, meadows and stuff, Red Dead 2, being kind of similar, but like, okay, maybe there's a cougar out there.
yeah.
Maybe
My
there's like
cat.
like worse than a coyote. Maybe there's a legit wolf out there.
Yeah.
Who knows?
A bear. We get those.
Boar. Who knows?
And
You just don't know. And it's just like, well, you want to be prepared, I guess.
But then there were like a
And then you
lot
eat it.
of benefits.
You eat it and you wear its skin.
There were a lot of benefits for being out there though. Like our mind, we can like
Oh, yeah.
calm down. You can
So it's
think.
definitely a place I would love to go to create.
Yeah.
Like if we ever had like a big art project where you need like solitude, for sure.
Yeah. There's something about, like, it's weird. We learned, because we didn't realize before going there, we didn't really do much research of what to expect there. I just wanted to be surprised. But it's a very artsy place. Like, I feel like it's close to Coachella. So a lot of people play music there. We didn't realize, but it seems like a very musical town. And a
Palm
lot of
Springs, big
artists-
musical community, it
Yeah.
seems.
It seems like a lot of arts, like, there were like ads for like props or things made for like Burning Man. And I was just like, huh, so a bunch of hippies live out here. It's interesting. And it's weird that like artists kind of flock there. There's like, when people say there's something in the water there, like creative types like to go there, and you as a creative type, you go out there and really there is something about being there that makes you more creative for some reason. I don't know if it would be the same in a cabin in the woods or like a different desert or what. There's, I don't know, something special about it. And you know, it made me think that like this is possible to live somewhere like here for people like us. Like you can work remotely, I can work remotely, as long as there's like decent internet. We can live anywhere, and look at the benefits it has done for my mind in one weekend to not be surrounded by like just stacked on top of each other and in each other's hair
Space, yeah.
all the time. And I thought, like, I can't be the only one who has thought about this, these options and all of this. I mean, I know, again, like, bringing it back to the beginning, that there's some people who just don't know any different. That they're like, they think everywhere is like here, and like, oh, how could there be anything better? But I want, like, truly, anyone who has traveled before will know that, especially traveled nearby, will know, like, oh, literally the city or the state right next to us can be so different. Like Dallas, for example, much nicer people in general, even compared to LA, because I don't know, it's just different there. And
it's a culture to be hospitable.
Yeah. And I, have been getting into Airbnb a lot. And because it's actually a great source of income if you're willing to put up with the headache of all that stuff. And you can potentially build wealth, all the things. And, some people think that all of this is a trend. That because of the pandemic and everything, has unexpectedly, in my opinion, has been an influx of people who want to travel, but not travel normally, before, to just cities and luxury. People want to travel to experiences and to the great outdoors and all, they're craving stuff like that. And so people being pessimistic are oh, this is just a fad. This is this will be gone once things get back to normal. But then, according to the Airbnb CEO, he announced that Airbnb is growing like crazy, and they're going to need millions more hosts in the near future. And that's not stopping anytime soon. So I was like, man, that is crazy that there's that much demand. There's that many people who want to maybe experience it for a weekend or experience it for a month or even like us to see if we want a different way of living, a different way of life that's different. Maybe there's something better out there for us, that we don't have to stay here and stuff like that. So, and, being older now and being a weirdo who is a woman into this kind of stuff, I want to let all the artists out there know. Because
they're probably thinking, investing in real estate, impossible.
That's rich, wealthy person stuff. That's my parents' stuff.
That's the 1% stuff.
That's someone who's nerdier
Tax the rich.
It's possible, and you don't understand how possible it is.
Help them understand how possible it is.
You can own investment property if you have $10,000. If you're able to scrounge up, save enough money, work as many jobs as you can to save up what is basically what should be most people's emergency funds, at least $10,000. If you have that, you can potentially put a down payment on a vacation rental, and you can earn passively income. That's really the fastest way to earn money in a way that can earn you wealth, not just money. You can
could you become a millionaire?
Yes.
What?
So in this episode of the podcast, I am recommending you go watch Meet Kevin's YouTube channel. He lost the recall. He is a very, very talented real estate person, and he has some videos about how to go from zero to millionaire or $10,000 to millionaire.
Now, is this some sort of pyramid scheme? Is this impossible?
No, he doesn't sell you anything other than if you want to take his courses, go take his courses. But he's just this is just advice, educational advice he's going to give you. And I wish I knew some of this stuff. I have always been very into finance, very frugal. Frugality kind of bites you in the butt when you're trying to grow your wealth, because I understand this much about business, that you need to not be so selfish that you're not willing to delegate and to hire out help. People who have a hard time spending money to make money sometimes can sometimes have a really hard time at business because they can never grow. And for me, I don't really have that problem, but I do tend to save money a lot. I'm I really want an emergency fund. I really want all this money in the bank so that I can be safe and secure. I'm not going to go homeless or whatever. But I realized fairly recently that that's kind of the noob way of doing it.
Where, saving money.
Yeah.
And keeping it in the bank.
Yes, it's good. It's good that you don't have debt. It's good that you paid off all your debt, and it's good that you have emergency fund. That all of that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You reached level 1.
That's level 1 noob.
Yeah. You paid off all your debts, and yeah. Level 2?
Yeah. Level 1 is like you got into debt and you like
Oh, yeah.
you're a train wreck.
Right.
And then number 2 is you got yourself out of debt and you started saving money.
Then what?
Then level 3 is you realize, oh, I'm an idiot if I just let all that money just sit in a bank account.
Because inflation.
Because of inflation. And like clearly, if you haven't noticed, if you go to a grocery store, everything is like twice as expensive.
It's so bad.
As last month.
So bad.
But because of that, you shouldn't just park your money in like a safe, basically. You should invest it.
Why though? Because it's like that money is being devalued, right?
Yes, and it can make you more money. Your money can make you money instead of like
Just sitting there.
And of all those choices, you have stocks, you have crypto, you have real estate, you have handbags, you have material things that like gold, and it can get really overwhelming choosing which one that you want to do, especially when you're not so good with money. Like a lot of artists aren't good with money. But the thing is, a lot of dumber people than you can invest in real estate and become wealthy.
That's one way of putting it, I guess.
But I mean, I want artists who think they're dumb
Oh, okay, I see.
to know that like you're not dumb, and like you're just scared of money, you're scared of numbers. It's fine, everyone starts somewhere. But like I feel like artists, they have creatives in general, they have a hard time dealing with those type of things when like if you only knew how to do that, you can like fund your creativity.
Literally anything.
You can fund anything you want to do in life. You don't have to be a starving artist if you were good at investing.
And you don't have
money.
to trade 9 hours of your life 5 days a week for the man.
Yeah. So Meet Kevin bought his first property, I think at 19.
Wow.
Rental property, yeah. And
for how much at the time?
I think 200,000. So he only had like $10,000.
For the down payment.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he you do, even if you can't afford it, house hack. You rent out rooms, do Airbnb, do whatever you can. That's basically like what every Chinese person does. Like
lots of people here too. Yeah, in LA.
Yeah.
Anybody. Everybody does that.
To build wealth, because most Chinese people are like really good with money and very frugal, and like they understand that like money is not necessarily the thing you want. It's wealth. So like you buy property, you rent it out, you do whatever you can, and then you win in the long term instead of the short term. Like you can work as hard as you want in Hollywood. When you don't have that job, you don't have that job. Like what are you gonna do? But like you have to think long term about how you want to make money without having to work so hard. And that's why I recommend everyone watch Meet Kevin. Educate your brain.
Better luck next time. Let's see you in the midterms, Meet Kevin.
I think he's running for president. I don't know. I saw a video. But make sure to like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons, and head over here to binge all our other episodes, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.